This week in post, why dynamic contrast is still king. Hey everyone, Scott Davenport here. Welcome to In Post. Thanks for joining me. This should be my last video with the sunglasses on. If you're curious what that's all about, I've got a vlog explains what the backstory is there. But today I'm going to talk about dynamic contrast and just kind of reaffirming the point, why do I have ON1 Photo as part of my photo toolkit? I cannot get the type of look that I want for certain photos without dynamic contrast. And I've got a photo from Seal Beach. I did a kind of not quite a redo of an old photo, but a similar shot from one that I processed a couple of years ago and started taking it in a black and white direction. And dynamic contrast needed to be part of the equation to get the look that I wanted. So let's have a look here at the photos. On the left is what I processed in Lightroom, and overall I like what I have here, but I was trying to get more detail in these rocks. And then the right side, I took the photo into ON1, added some dynamic contrast to the rocks. Let's get a little larger here so we can see this difference here. So this is in Lightroom, and it's good, right? I mean, I still have detail there. I can see the differences in shadows. I haven't lost anything, but I wanted more punch, and I tried a variety of things: clarity, localized clarity, contrast, all sorts of stuff. Could not get the look I was after. I'm gonna move to the right, and this is the photo from dynamic contrast being applied in ON1. Much more detail on those rocks and this foreground rock here, and I just could not attain this without using ON1 Photo. So what did I do applying that dynamic contrast? Let's pop over into ON1 Photo and I'll show you exactly how I targeted this adjustment. This is the shot from Lightroom over into ON1 Photo. We can see I've got three different filters here, two dynamic contrasts, and I added a tone enhancer. I'll explain why. Let's take a look at the first dynamic contrast. I'm going to turn it on and you'll see the rocks jump a little bit before and after. So this is a very targeted adjustment. You can see that the mask is quite intricate. If I hit, oops, I turned that off by mistake. If I hit view, this is what the mask is. I want to go through how I built this mask, because as complex as it looks, it's not as bad to develop. So let me just copy that mask so I have it, and I'll reset and I'll turn off the view. So this is the photo. I started with a luminosity mask and then inverting that luminosity mask. So you see the little mask here, it looks like a photo negative. If I do view, everywhere that is light gray or white is getting the contrast applied. Every place that is black or dark, the contrast is not being applied. And from here, I just adjusted these sliders, just watching the screen and deciding, you know, what do I want to have affected? What do I not want to have affected? Dialed it in till I got to a certain point where I liked what I had on the rocks. There's some cleanup I need to do in the water. I'll use my brush. It's set to paint out, make it kind of big, and then just kind of work through these different areas here, etc., etc. You can get the idea. I did all of that, and if I'll just paste down what I copied, this was my end result. And so that's how this contrast is targeted to only the rocks. I took that same mask and added a second dynamic contrast, so even more punch. So this is the first dynamic contrast, this is the second. The main difference here is really pushing these sliders, especially the small slider. I really wanted that detail in that rock to come out here. Now the final adjustment with this tone enhancer, this was just to kind of brighten things up a little bit. Once I made these adjustments, I decided to really push the high key look. And so if I turn that on, all I'm doing is a curves adjustment. I brought the white point in just a little bit, raised the midtones, but kept the shadows in check. So this is really a nominal on the very low shadows, so I didn't lose those deep shadows in the rocks before and after. And I think ultimately that just gives a brighter, more pleasing view to the photo. Without this, this looks a little dingy, quite honestly, a little dirty, almost a little filmy. And this is just brighter, and I preferred the high key look. But you know, the key takeaway here is that dynamic contrast. Without those dynamic contrast adjustments, I just could not get the rocks to pop the way I wanted to. And I used two of them on this particular photo to really have them jump out. Well, the tip of the week is dynamic contrast, but maybe taking a step back and just saying that there's reasons that we have more than one photo processing tool in our toolkits. Certain tools give us the types of looks that we're after, and use them when you need to use them. And that's going to do it for this week's In Post. I hope you've enjoyed it. If you did, please let me know somehow. Comments on the video below are great. Questions always appreciated. If you got a photo question, please send it my way. I usually turn an answer around in a day or two. I'd like to hear what's on your mind. And until next time, my name's Scott Davenport. Happy shooting.